You're going to completely throw out our entire justice system because you don't want to be fair.
If you want to fight, let's go out back and I'll just beat your ass.
Case 1. Judge Elizabeth Scherer. Meet Judge Elizabeth Scherer, Broward County Circuit Judge, who unleashed a scathing rebuke upon the defense team of Nicholas Cruz, the convicted Parkland school shooter. As the proceedings resumed after a break, Broward County Public Defender Gordon Weeks expressed his concern to Scherer about some comments made towards Cruz's defense attorneys during the morning's victim impact statements. Weeks argued that these remarks were encouraging violence, which led to objections from the prosecution. Scherer quickly agreed with Weeks' observation.
You know, Judge, I'm standing here and I see that Jeff Marcus jumped up really quickly. But no one jumped up when people were referring to karma acting in the universe. No one was jumping up when they were referring to the defense children. No one jumped up to try to tap down that rhetoric. That is the rhetoric that I'm talking about. That is what I'm trying to be very clear on. Jeff Marcus, the state, they can hide behind their arguments, but we all are witnessing what is occurring in this courtroom.
Assistant State Attorney Carolyn McCann strongly denied Weeks' claims.
Myself, I'm a judge, and
I
understand that I'm in
Thank you,
charge
Judge.
of the decorum, and I feel that 99% or a great percentage of what has been said has been appropriate. Everybody has maintained decorum, but for a few comments, it's best to just move on as opposed to highlight them.
Chief Public Defender David Wheeler pushed Scherer further, asking for assurance that the court would prevent such behavior from happening again. He expressed his disappointment over specific incidents involving the defense team, including offensive gestures and disrespectful behavior. Wheeler became more upset when he thought his children were targeted in the testimony.
What is the problem?
Judge, I have no problem because I have thick skin. But once you bring in my children, I think that's highly improper.
He argued that Scherer would definitely notice if her children were mentioned. Scherer sternly reprimanded.
I didn't even know you have children. I don't know what you're talking about. Your children? What about your children?
For them to comment on my children is highly improper, and for this court to allow that kind of testimony is also improper.
I don't remember any comments about any children, and if there was, it obviously didn't, it came and went without me noticing it.
Judge, I can assure you that if they were talking about your children, you would definitely notice it.
You need to sit down right now. You're out of line. In fact, you're excused. You need to go sit.
Weeks returned to the podium and tried to talk to Scherer, but she quickly interrupted him, refusing his request to speak to his lawyers. Even as he walked away, Scherer kept scolding him, making sure he got the message. Case 2. Judge John Murphy. This is John Murphy, a Florida judge in Brevard County who fought with an assistant public defender. The incident happened when Judge Murphy and Andrew Weinstock argued intensely during a court hearing.
The question is, am I waiving? The answer is, I'm not waiving.
Just say it.
Okay, I'm not waiving.
I don't care.
I don't care either.
I just needed to set it for a date.
Well, normally we go to docket Tony after that. If you want to go to trial, we'll set it for trial. That's fine.
All right, speedy trial. That is June 9th at 8.
The argument was about waiving the defendant's right to a speedy trial.
Wanting to waive speedy, we would set it for July 15th.
I would like to get it done as fast as possible.
That doesn't help me. You want to set it for trial and see what happens?
Yes.
All right. Speedy trial, June 9th, 8:30. All right, that's all we got to do.
Sir.
Judge Murphy got very angry during the debate. Weinstock, the public defender, insisted on his right to be there and represent his client.
This is an emergency
if I had
by
a
the
rock,
state.
I would throw it at you right now.
This is
Stop pissing me off. Just sit down. I'll take care of it. I don't need your help.
No,
sit down.
I'm the public defender. I have a right to be here, and I have a right to stand and
sit
represent my
down.
clients.
This seemed to anger the judge even more. The situation got worse when the judge allegedly dared Weinstock to settle the issue outside the courtroom.
If you want to fight, let's go out back and I'll just beat your ass.
They both went into a back hallway, out of the view of security cameras, where the fight happened. The Florida Supreme Court ordered Judge John Murphy off the bench, calling him a national spectacle and an embarrassment to Florida's judicial system. In May, the Judicial Qualifications Commission recommended Murphy be publicly reprimanded, suspended for 120 days without pay, fined $50,000, and required to undergo therapy and retake judicial courses. Case 3. Judge Schroeder. Meet Judge Schroeder, who unleashed a furious tirade against the lead prosecutor during Kyle Rittenhouse's trial. The outburst came in response to the prosecutor's attempt to question Rittenhouse about his use of an AR-15 style rifle to protect property rather than human life.
And you'd agree with me that you're not allowed to use deadly force to protect property, correct?
Yes.
But yet you have previously indicated that you wished you had your AR-15 to protect someone's property, correct?
I'm going to ask you to go into the library again for a moment, please. Please don't talk about the case.
Judge Bruce Schroeder dismissed the jury and launched into a scolding of the prosecutor, admonishing him for suggesting that the court had left the door open for certain lines of questioning. In a raised voice, the judge made it clear that his previous statement about leaving the door open was for himself, not the prosecutor.
My understanding of
You should have come and asked for reconsideration. You did on the one motion, and in fact, I granted your motion for reconsideration.
That was not our motion.
Excuse me.
The tension in the courtroom was palpable as the judge berated the prosecutor for his actions. One of the issues that particularly incensed the judge was the prosecutor's reference to Rittenhouse's post-arrest silence. The judge expressed astonishment at the prosecutor's decision to bring up this topic, emphasizing that it had been a basic law in the country for decades not to comment on a defendant's silence after arrest.
I have no idea why you would do something like that, and it gives, well, I'll leave it at that. So I don't know what you're up to.
May I respond?
Yes.
He questioned the prosecutor's motive and expressed his confusion over why such a basic legal principle would be disregarded.
Yeah, that's absolutely untrue. No. Your argument's of record. My comments are of record, and why I ruled as I did is of record. There's nothing that I heard in this trial to suggest anything's changed, even if you're correct.
The tense exchange between the judge and the prosecutor continued, with the judge asserting that there was no similarity between Rittenhouse's comments and the incidents in question. He dismissed the prosecutor's argument and instructed him to read more on evidence, all while praising the defense's lawyering. Case 4. Martha Anderson. This is Martha Anderson, a judge in the county circuit court who got angry at a defense attorney for wasting her time. Paul Nicoletti is in court because of an ongoing feud with a former client, Karen Stevens.
Good afternoon, Judge. Karen Stevens, in pro per for my motion for sanctions against Mr. Nicoletti for this vexatious and frivolous PPO.
Stevens claims Nicoletti has petitioned the court for a personal protection order against her over accusations of stalking. She's here to fight the order and try to bring sanctions against Nicoletti.
My motion for sanctions against Mr. Nicoletti for this vexatious and frivolous PPO.
I'm sorry, on this what?
I have a motion for sanctions against...
I know that. And the purpose of the sanctions are based on what?
It was a frivolous and vexatious PPO based on nonsense. I am not stalking Mr. Nicoletti.
I haven't signed a PPO.
Stevens persistently interrupted the witness and repeatedly objected without valid reasons despite the judge's prior warnings. The tension escalated when Stevens ignored Judge Anderson's instructions to uphold proper courtroom etiquette. Her constant interruptions and argumentative behavior disrupted the proceedings, causing Judge Anderson to lose patience.
Do not interrupt me when I'm speaking, ma'am.
I have a constitutional right to be heard.
On what basis? There is no case before me, ma'am, other than the fact that you filed this frivolous motion, taking up this court's time for no good reason other than your own personal vendetta against this man.
Stevens failed to secure sanctions against Nicoletti and was fined $500 herself. Unhappy with the decision, she had some harsh words for the judge.
I knew it was fixed.
I beg your pardon?
I knew it was fixed.
Miss Stevens, I highly suggest that you just exit my courtroom and go pay the sanctions before I find you in contempt.
Due to a clerical mistake, Stevens found herself before Judge Anderson again 4 months later. She still wanted to discuss the protection order, but Judge Anderson refused to hear her. In the end, Stevens lost her battle with both the judge and Nicoletti. She was ordered to pay not only the fine she owed the court, but also Nicoletti's attorney's fees. Case 5. Meet Jennifer Duro, the judge who got angry during a heated exchange with the Waukesha Christmas Parade murder suspect. This incident happened after a trial where Brooks represented himself. Throughout the proceedings, he was combative, engaging in shouting matches with Giroux, arguing he wasn't subject to government restrictions, and refusing to respond to his name. Before any witnesses were called to the stand, Brooks argued with Judge Jennifer Giroux about paperwork.
This the paperwork that was just put on it was paperwork on the desk when I came in. That was on top of my folders.
Mr. Brooks, I know that you were given the opportunity to take them to your cell because that is what I was advised. Whether you did that or not, I don't know.
Giroux dismissed his concerns, directing him to take it up with the clerk of courts.
The court was in recess. Madam Clerk was simply finalizing the paperwork based upon the discussion that was held on the record in open court yesterday.
But Brooks was not satisfied with this answer and continued to challenge Giroux. He demanded to know why he couldn't present more evidence and started making baseless legal arguments.
I stand behind them, and I believe I made a very, very clear record. So to the extent that you are asking me to reconsider any of that, that's how I would interpret your statements here today. I decline to do so.
His behavior became so disruptive that Judge Giroux called a recess, warning that any further interruptions from Brooks would result in his removal to another courtroom.
Mr. Brooks, and you forfeited your right to do that by your conduct yesterday, and I stand behind that decision. I'm going to do the following, sir.
Your Honor,
I'm going to do the
this
following.
before yesterday.
You have not honored my request to you that you cease debating me on prior rulings
I'm not trying
of
to
the
debate.
court.
I'm trying to understand why my due process is being violated.
Mr. Brooks, the record speaks for itself.
No, the record does not.
I am going to take a 5-minute recess. When I come back out.
When the jury was finally brought in, Giroux instructed them to disregard Mr. Brooks' statements. Despite Brooks' ongoing concerns about paperwork, Giroux dismissed his claims. During cross-examination, Brooks questioned whether the officer was being compensated for his testimony. Case 6. Judge Scotty. This is Judge Scotty, who threw a pocket-sized version of the U.S. Constitution against the wall because of his displeasure against a potential juror. This took place when lawyers and the judge were in the process of selecting a jury, a crucial step to ensure a fair trial. The defendant, Jose Azucena, faces 40 counts of sexual misconduct, including the kidnapping and rape of a minor. On the second day of jury selection, the juror in question told the judge she didn't think she could be unbiased because she had to deal with child abuse and sexual assault in her work as a nurse.
I think I would be biased. I don't know how.
The judge objected, saying she didn't say that the day before.
You didn't say that yesterday.
Well, I said I had other
No, listen,
issues.
what we're not going to have in this jury is people coming in overnight and thinking of and try to make up now so they can get out of the jury. That's not going to happen, all right? Right? Because if I find that someone said something yesterday under oath and changes it because they're trying to fabricate something to get out of serving on this jury, there's going to be repercussions, all right? Now, what's going on here?
Disgusted with the juror, the judge hurls a pocket-sized version of the U.S. Constitution against the wall.
Let me throw out our entire justice system because you don't want to be fair and impartial.
Your Honor, may we approach? Your Honor.
No, you can't approach. You're not going to be fair and impartial.
Like I said, with my nursing history.
Defense counsel tried to intervene, asking to approach the bench, but Scotty refused. The nurse is excused from jury duty, but not before the judge makes one final remark.
Now, you're off this jury. You're off this jury. You're removed. Go home. All right? I don't like your attitude.
The case against Azucena proceeds to trial, where he is found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. The Nevada Supreme Court overturned the conviction, claiming Judge Scotty created an intimidating environment that tainted the jury panel. Azucena is awarded a new trial and a new judge. Until then, he remains in custody. Although Scotty apologized for the incident, his outburst resulted in ethics charges courtesy of the Nevada Commission of Judicial Discipline. What are your thoughts about these judges? Do you think their courtroom outbursts were appropriate or not? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments section. Please subscribe, like, and share this video.